So good morning, everyone. So welcome to the first class of the session on Macroeconomics I. So as you have, as ma'am discussed yesterday, that I'll be just facilitating one course with you, that is Macroeconomics. I'll be taking this entire course by myself. Now, coming to the beginning of this class, so you have already finished studying about microeconomics as well as quantitative methods in economics, or quantitative methods for economics. Apart from that, you have also studied two other courses. One is money banking finance, another is Indian monetary system. Now, as far as your connection with macroeconomics I is concerned, so I can already say that unknowingly, all of you have actually got initiated into macroeconomics I, though not in a structured way, but somewhat in unstructured way, right from the first semester. And finance was a course that is entirely a sub-branch of macroeconomics. Okay, so it is entirely a sub-branch of macroeconomics, which you have got already initiated to, where you have studied about the different theories of demand for money, then functions of money and supply of money. And you also studied in Indian monetary system, maybe about the exchange rate balance of payments. So all these things are related to macroeconomics. But the challenge was that when you studied them, you studied in a very haphazard or unorganized way, which I already mentioned in the classes when I used to facilitate the discussion on the different theories of demand for money. So I said that just study them as a history, so you will study them in a more structured way when you come to the third and fourth semester. So this is where we now begin. Now, as far as macroeconomics is concerned, so you have already studied about the microeconomics. Okay, so I will now just shift to the whiteboard. Okay, so just give me some time and just tell me whether you will able to visit the whiteboard or not. So it will be just nothing but your Microsoft Word only. Okay, so I'm just sharing. No, it's not coming, so I'll have to screen. Present now. So I just stop this. So I'll have this here. So can you see the screen, everyone? Can you see the screen? Just respond.
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now,
Yes, sir. Yes.
till now you have studied about. Just a minute. I'll have to even erase it. Okay. So there is some issue. Just a minute. Hold on. I'm just opening one more day. Give me some time. So now it is fine. Okay. So now you can see. Huh? Students, can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So till
Yes,
now
sir.
you have studied about this microeconomics. Okay. So basically, can you see I'm writing something?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Something on Word?
Microeconomics, sir.
Yeah, I have written something microeconomics. Yes, perfect. So I'm now changing the orientation from portrait to landscape. So what did we study in microeconomics? Basically, we studied about individuals. Okay, we studied basically about these individuals and individuals' decision making. So basically, we studied about these individuals' decision making. And what was this individual's decision making? So basically, you studied about the consumers, producers, and owners of factors of production. Okay. So basically, we studied about these categories of people. So owners of factors of production, so owners of factors of production. So basically, consumers, we were interested that what they want to buy. So goods they want to buy. So goods they want to buy. Producers, we were basically interested the goods they want to produce. Okay. And owners of factors of production, that how much of factors of production they are ready to supply. Okay. So these were three categories of people. Now, basically what used to happen, these consumers themselves were owners of these factors of production. This is what we will see in macroeconomics, that these consumers who are also making a choice about the goods they want to buy are the same group of people who are also making a choice that how much of factors of production they are ready to supply. Now, the question which next arises, that in the study of microeconomics, what was the most important mechanism about coordination of activities amongst these three groups of people, that is consumers, producers, and owners of factors of production. So the first, so what was the basic mechanism by which all these three categories of people interacted? Can anyone tell? Suraj, can you tell what was the main mechanism, way of mechanism by which, through which all the activities or the decision making of these three categories of people were being coordinated? What was that mechanism? Any idea? Okay. So basically, it was the price mechanism. I hope you remember now that this was nothing but the price mechanism. So what was this price? Consumers decided to buy something. So consumers had what? Consumers had a given budget constraint. Okay. So they had a given budget constraint. Fine. Now, when they had a budget constraint, so how was this budget constraint being made? So if you look at the budget constraint, it was basically being decided by what? Prices of commodities. So it was decided by prices of commodities. Okay. Prices of commodities. Then the money income which you had. So the money income of the consumer. Then the amount of goods you want to buy, which were variable. So let's say there were two goods, X and Y, which were variables. Okay. So this was what was decided. Now, so this was the budget constraint, if you remember. This was your budget constraint. So what was the budget constraint? So let's say Px into X plus Py into Y equal to M. So this was the budget constraint. Now you had a utility function, remember, f of xy. So xy could have different functional forms. Then what did you do next? What did you do after that? Remember from a microeconomics, what did you do after that? Okay, so after this, what used to happen? So next, so this was what we got. Okay, so then we used to maximize this utility subject to the budget constraint, and then after we maximize this utility subject to the budget constraint using a constraint optimization technique, then we got the demand functions of X and Y. So this was how the consumers maximize their welfare subject to the budget constraint and their money income. What the producers used to do? Can now somebody say what the producers used to do? What the producers used to do? Anyone? What did the producers do? What did the producers do? Can anyone say? Okay. So next, the producers. So next, what the producers did? The producers were. So now let me get to the producers point. So now we talk about the producers. Okay. So producers did what? Producers had a production function. So this was the production function, f of x1 and x2. So where x1, x2 are the factors of production. Okay, x1 and x2 were the factors of production. Then you had a cost constraint, that how much amount you will be spending on these two inputs, that is x1 and x2. So where the price of these two inputs were px1 and px2. So these were nothing but the prices of factors of production. Okay. So these were nothing but prices of factors of production. Fine. Now then what did you do? You maximized what? You wanted to maximize the profit. So how did you get the profit? Pi was equal to P into X minus C of X. C of X1, X2. So here what you got? P into F of X1, X2 minus C of X1, X2. So this I am taking with respect to perfect competition. Again, keep this thing in mind. This is nothing but with respect to perfect competition. I'm just giving the example of perfect competition. So then what did you do? You maximized. So this was your unconstrained maximization problem. So this was your cost function. This was your rate. Then you got the optimal output that you need to produce. That is X star. Then subject to that, you got what is the what would be the optimal inputs do you require. That is, then you get the factor demand function. Okay. So this was the what? This was nothing but the decision making problem of the producer. Okay. So this was the decision making problem of the producer. Students, I have a request. If you join, please join by 9:05, because while I'm teaching, it becomes very difficult for me to admit the students. So try to join by 9:05. Okay. So kindly cooperate in this. Now, so this was the problem of the producer. Now next, let us see what happens in case of the factor, people who are demanding the factors. Okay. So now let us see what is happening in case of the owners of what happens in case of the owners of factors of production. Owners of factors of production. So what they have to decide? So they have to decide between two things. That is work and leisure. Okay. So what they have got? They have got the price of the factor. Okay. So they have got 24 hours. Next, they have got 24 hours to divide between work and leisure. Remember our discussion on factor markets. So they will decide depending on this price of factor, where how much hours to allocate to work and how much hours to allocate to leisure. In that way, they will be maximizing what? They will be maximizing their utility. So again, they have a utility constraint. Again, you have got a utility function. So where f is what? F is a function of leisure and work. Not leisure. So leisure is there and income. Okay. So leisure and income. So these are the two goods, leisure and income, based on which they will be maximizing their utility. And once they maximize their utility, then it will be decided how many hours of work they are going to put. Okay. How many hours of work. So this was the decision. Basically, this is what we studied in microeconomics. Now, after solving the decision-making problems of the consumer, producer, as well as the owners of these factors of production, we move next on to maximization of social welfare. That means how we can increase the well-being of each and everyone in the society without reducing the welfare of any other person. So this is what we studied basically. So basically the study of microeconomics was involved as the study of the decision-making problems of any individual. But now when we move on to macroeconomics, so when we are talking about macroeconomics, what do we do? When we talk about macroeconomics, okay, so when we are talking about macroeconomics, basically we now talk about what? We now talk about the aggregate decision level. Okay. So when we are talking about macroeconomics, we are talking about aggregate decision making. Now this sounds quite unusual. What is aggregate decision making? So let me tell you right at the onset that no decision is being made at the aggregate level. Okay. So there is not something like an aggregate individual. Now let me tell very clearly that there is something called as an aggregate individual. So this is nothing, there is nothing known as an aggregate individual. Okay. So what we basically study is about the economy. Either we can study the economy of the country. Okay. That is what we can study about the economy of India, or we can study about the economy of a state. That is, we can study about the economy of Assam, or we can study about the economy of a city. That is, let's say, economy of what? Guwahati. Or we can study about the economy of village. So we can study about the economy of Peter's village. Okay. So Peter, is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you now? So now everyone is getting the feeling of the board work, I hope.
Yes,
I hope
sir.
everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now you are now you are. I think now it is fine with you, Peter.
Yes, sir. It's fine.
Now, basically, when we talk about this macroeconomics, when we are talking about this macroeconomics, we are basically talking about study of the economy. Okay, we talk about the study of the economy. So, what do we study in this economy? What are we studying in this economy? So, basically, we are studying about what? Basically, we are studying about what? Basically, we are studying about this aggregate output. Okay, that is the total output in the economy measured in terms of monetary value. Okay, so remember what we studied in demand for money, in functions of money. So what are the four functions of money? Money as a medium of exchange. Okay, money as a store of value, money as a unit of account, money as a means of deferred payment, and what else? So money as a unit of account, store of value, means of deferred payment, and means of exchange. So this is where we get the main use of money. So we cannot add apples and oranges. We cannot add televisions and shoes. So basically, when we measure total output in the economy, we measure it in terms of monetary value. So we convert the value of the output in terms of its monetary equivalent. We add up all these monetary equivalent values, and then we get the total output of the economy, which we term as GDP. Okay. So just few days back, when you have read a news that India's GDP in the April-June quarter has shrunk by 23.9%. Okay, compared to last year, India's GDP in the April to June quarter has shrunk by 23.9%. So this is what we are concerned about. So you will see that a lot of people are very much concerned about the shrinking or the fall in the GDP in the April-June quarter compared to the similar period last year. So this is one of the things which we are studying. What is the next thing we study? Next thing we study is the aggregate employment. So next we study about aggregate employment. So here we are studying what is the total employment in the economy. Total employment in the economy. Okay. So we study about the total employment in the economy. Fine. Now, when we talk about aggregate employment and what is the total employment in the economy, so a concept which is connected is the unemployment. Okay. So remember in microeconomics when we studied, you remember we basically studied about the employment of either labor or capital in a particular industry or in a particular firm. But when we're talking about macroeconomic study, we basically talk about the total employment in the economy. We are not talking about any individual firm or we are not talking about any individual industry. We are talking about the total employment in the economy comprising of all the industries, all the firms and all the sectors of the economy. Okay. So after we account for the total employment, we then talk that what is the level of unemployment in the economy. Fine. Now, next, we speak about one more concept basically in the economy, which is the which is the price level. Now remember, in microeconomics, what was our assumption, especially in a perfectly competitive setup? Price is given. Okay, so price is given. So nobody determines the price. Whereas in monopoly, it was the monopolist who determined the price. Okay, so price is given. So this was basically a perfect competition setup. Okay. So whether you are a consumer, whether you are a producer, whether you are a owner of factors of production, in a perfect competition setup, price is given. Fine. Now, in case of non-perfect competitive markets, price was determined by the producers or by the actions of the producers. It was not being determined by the market. It was basically being determined by the producers. But still, what happened, if you see the price, it was with respect to a particular commodity or with respect to a particular industry. That's what we studied in microeconomics. In case of macroeconomics, we will not study about any individual prices. We will study about the general price level in the economy. Okay, we will basically talk about the general price level in the economy. So when we talk about this general price level in the economy, if you remember the theories of demand for money, okay, theories of money demand. So how many of you remember the quantity theory of money? How many of you remember the quantity theory of money? Okay, so we studied about this Cambridge quantity theory as well as Fisherian quantity theory. Fine. So quantity theory of money, what we studied that price level and hence an associated concept which was inflation is altogether a monetary phenomenon. Okay, so this is altogether a monetary phenomenon. So when we decide to study about the price level, we are basically interested about this variable, that is inflation. So what is the rate of inflation in the economy? What is the rate of inflation in the economy? So whether it is going up or whether it is going down. So when the inflation goes up, that means there is general increase in what? There is general increase in price level. So what happens? Goods become more expensive. Okay, so goods are becoming more expensive. So you have to spend more to buy a given amount of good, and that's not a very good thing. So basically, as a macroeconomist, you'll be studying about how the price level is increasing, at what rate it is increasing, and what steps can you take to bring down this price level so that people can buy the goods at a lower cost. So what we see basically now, that in case of macroeconomics, we study basically about what? Aggregate output, okay, aggregate employment, okay, and then we study about aggregate or the general price level. Now with aggregate output, we would like to study, so what idea we get from aggregate output? We get whether there is balance between supply and demand. Okay, so that's our main target. So if there is a mismatch between supply or demand, that means if there is excess of demand or excess of supply, then it causes some stress or disturbances in the economy. So associated with this aggregate output concept, we study about the cyclical fluctuations in output levels, which happens from time to time, and this is what is known as business cycles. So you might have heard now about these two things, that is recession, okay, and when there is a boom. So these are the concepts associated, and our main objective of studying this aggregate output level is to look at the cyclical fluctuations in the output level, which is nothing but the study of the business cycles, where we study about the recession and boom in the economy. Aggregate employment basically gives an idea about what is the level of unemployment in the economy. Okay, so it gives us an idea about the aggregate level, gives us aggregate employment, gives us what is the level of unemployment in the economy, and this is also very closely associated with the aggregate output level. So if there is less demand compared to, if there is less demand, then the unemployment increase. If there is more demand, excess demand, then unemployment will fall. Now last we come to this aggregate price level. So associated with this concept is the rate of inflation or the level of inflation in the economy. So basically there are different theories regarding this inflation. So what we understand that when there is excess demand in the economy, then there will be less unemployment, and because of excess demand in the economy, inflation level will be higher. But there are also certain other theories and empirical studies which have showed that even in times of high unemployment, there can also be high inflation. So which we will study as we move along this course structure and the coursework. Okay, so this will be our objective of study. Basically, apart from this, we will also be studying about the other things. What are they? So this will be balance of payments, which has to do with the international economy, balance of payments. Okay, next we'll be studying about the exchange rate. Okay, then when we talk about aggregate output, we will also talk about the sectoral composition of output. So what is the sectoral composition of output? Then in the very long run, we will be studying about what is the growth rate in the economy. Okay, so what is the growth rate in the economy? So basically these are the things which we will be studying in details in this Macroeconomics 1 as well as Macroeconomics 2. Now the question which comes are that what are these? So we already know that what are the major variables which we will be studying in macroeconomics. Now next comes the question about that what are the major macroeconomic questions. So what are the major macroeconomic questions? So the first question is, what determines the aggregate output level? Okay, now associated with this then comes other questions, that what causes excess or deficit demand? Okay, next question is this, and also another question, that what determines the supply of output. Okay. Now, associated with this question comes one other question, that what causes growth, that is consistent increase in the output level. So about this growth you will be studying in development economics course, which I will not be dealing, but it will be dealt by ma'am in development economics course. Okay. So what causes growth in the output level? So basically when we talk about this growth, we will be talking about technology, which we have already studied in your production, but here we'll be studying this at the aggregate level, not at the firm or the industry level. We'll be talking about investment, that how much investment is needed for consistent growth in the output level. And then we will also be talking about factor productivity. So these are the things which we will be discussing very minutely and intensely when we discuss about growth in the output level. So this is the first question, and associated with the first question we have two other questions, that what causes excess or deficit demand, what determines the supply of output. The next question which we will be dealing with, so the next question which we'll be dealing with is the, so this is point B, what determines the,
Sir, I think, sir,
yeah,
I think it should be point C.
no, it's point B, it's not point C. That was the first question. Associated with the first question, I gave two other questions. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
So now what determines the aggregate employment level? So we already know from a discussion that aggregate employment is determined by the what? Aggregate output level. Okay. But this is not where the story ends, because as we already know from our discussion in microeconomics, that it actually depends on what? Employment of factors of production depends on technology. Okay, so technology can be capital intensive or it can be labor intensive. Okay, then also there is one more factor which is associated, is that the returns to scale. Okay, so we have already studied about increasing returns to scale, decreasing returns to scale, and constant returns to scale. So aggregate output level will not be determined just by the aggregate employment level, will not be determined by the just by the aggregate output level, but it will also depend on the technology that we are using to produce that aggregate output. So whether the technology is capital intensive or labor intensive will determine my aggregate output level. Then associated with this question will becomes that what causes unemployment in the economy. Okay, what causes unemployment in the economy? Fine. Now this is where we will also be studying about our different government policies, that whether government policies are supporting generation of employment or they are creating a barrier for generation of employment. So here government study of government policies will also become important while we discuss about the factors that determine the aggregate employment level apart from technology and the aggregate output level. Now the last question, which is basically the question number C. Okay, so question C. So what do we, so question C is this: what determines the general price level. So when we talk about what determines the general price level, we will basically be interested about the study of inflation, and associated with the study of inflation, we will be basically be interested about studying also the relationship between inflation and unemployment. So we will see what are the factors. So what factors determine the general aim? So basically one thing that comes up very fast in our mind is the demand level. Okay. So demand level. So what is this demand level? So we have already also studied about the quantity theory of money. So what is the relationship between the money supply and the aggregate demand? So this is as per the classical theory. Then when we will be studying about the Keynesian theory, we will see that how the increase in demand level from a deficit point helps to increase the demand till it reaches full employment, and post the economy has reached the full employment level or the potential output level, how further increase in demand level can lead to increase in general price level and hence increase in inflation, and how it affects the unemployment. So now we can see that all these questions or all the answers to the aforementioned questions are intertwined with each other. And this is where the specialized study of macroeconomics will help me to disentangle these answers. Okay. This will help me to disentangle these answers. So now I think you're getting a fair idea about the road ahead and what are our basic objectives of studying macroeconomics. But having said that, I will not say that we will have to totally abandon the microeconomics which we have studied so far, because you will see, especially in Macroeconomics 2, that is in 4th semester, that the microeconomic concepts will also be used to study about the consumption function, investment function, and also many other aggregate questions that we would like to answer. Fine. So this is what I had to give today about the introduction to this macroeconomics and how to motivate you about the study of macroeconomics. So now my question will be to all of you. So my question to all of you will be now this thing that today I have given you a glimpse of how we are going to go about in this macroeconomics in specifics, and also the way I'll be conducting the classes using this whiteboard method of teaching. So are you comfortable with this method of teaching, Peter?
Yes, sir.
So now you're okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we will be using this method. It will also take some time for me also to get adjusted. So I have just started this thing. So what I will do is this: I will try to send this, the board work which I have done. After I save it and compile it, I can send it to you so you can refer to it. And this video is also being recorded, which I will also provide the link to you. Now, after this, I will be sharing on Google Classroom the lesson plan for Macroeconomics 1. So to give you an idea about how this lesson plan is working, so I'll be just be sharing this lesson plan for the time being with you people. Give me some time. Yeah, this is the lesson plan. Just a minute. Can you people see the lesson plan? I'm just increasing the resolution. Can you see the lesson plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the lesson plan and evaluation schedule. So what will be the mode of assessment? So assignment, as I said, you will get around 6 to 8 number of assignments, which will have got 10% weightage, and mode of assessment will be written. Then you will have got 2 class tests as usual, test 1, test 2. So 20% marks. Then non-formal marks, that is how you are performing in the class, how you are attending the class. So for that you will get 5 marks, attendance you will get 5 marks, and end term exam as usual 60 marks. Now this is the lesson plan outline. Now look at this lesson plan outline. So here I am not giving you any date, because why I am not giving you any date? The reason is this, that let's say you can have a sudden disruption to the class on a scheduled date. But what matters for us is the class which we are doing. That is what we are doing in the first class, what we are doing in the second class, and so on. So for each of this class, we will have an approximate 1 hour duration. And what I will be discussing in each of these classes. So today in class 1, I discussed about scope and objectives of the study of macroeconomics as a subdiscipline of economics. So this was my objective today, which I tried. Okay. And the next class also I'll be continuing with this discussion on the scope and objectives of study of macroeconomics as a subdiscipline of economics. And after that, I'll be going on to the main body part of macroeconomics. So this is where altogether in this semester, because of the timeline, we will be having altogether 66 classes. Okay. So we'll be having 66 classes. So in 66 classes, I will be covering 4 modules. Okay. I'll be covering 4 modules in 66 classes, and this excludes the date for the tests, date for any other engagements at the department level or at the university level, which may be counseling or some workshop. So these are the days on which I will be doing all my classes for macroeconomics. So I'll be sharing this lesson plan with you on Google Classroom platform, apart from the link to the video of today's class, as well as the board work that I have done today in Microsoft Word. So I will be sending it to you. Kindly have a look and keep this thing in mind. If you have any doubt in any class, please send them to me or bring it before me within 5 days of that class. So let's say today is 5th of September. So if you have any doubt about this class, you should bring any doubt before me, or any clarification if you require before me, latest by 10th of September. After that, it will not be possible for me to address the doubts from this class. So kindly cooperate. This is where we are not coming. We are not trying to fall more into a structured way of conducting our classes, structured way of studying, structured way of addressing the issues, clarifications, and doubts, and all the things that are associated in completing or facilitating the coursework on macroeconomics. Okay. So any doubt, any question? Any doubt, any question?
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, about that assignment, yesterday I thought sir told that we could type as well as write, but it's written only there. So.
Pardon, can you just repeat once again?
Sir, yesterday about that assignment, about how to submit. Yesterday I asked and sir told that we could write it and submit as well as we could just type and send.
No. You can do either of the things. You can write it and scan it, send it to me, or you can type it and send it to me. So both the options are available. Okay. It is not just one option is available. You can write it as you did in your class test too. So you wrote it with your hand and then you scan it and send it to us. Or you can type it or you can send it to us. Both the options are available, but you have to post it on the Google Classroom platform. No other platforms will be accepted. This is what I can say. Okay. Anyone, anything else? Anyone, any question? So today I can see who are present. Let me see, 15 students are present. So I can see Ibanda, Chadi, Sushana was there, but Sushana is no more visible. Oh, Sushana is there. Sushana, Cindy, Evelyn, Mariam, Ibanda, Chari, all the girls are present. What about the boys? Tridit Pal, Suraj, Renben, Pinbha, Peter, Messi, Bhuite, John, Gregory, Koksham. So again, there are some people who are not present. Kindly ask them to be present. Otherwise, there will be marked absent in the class. Okay. So thank you everyone, and see you probably. I may see you again on Monday at 11 a.m. So kindly follow the links that have been provided for the days in my mail. Okay. So we'll be using those meeting links for connecting on those particular days. Okay. So thank you everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.